Hello, and welcome to How to Use Your Wisdom to Create a Profitable Coaching Business. I'm McKenna Sage, and I am one of the co-founders of Follow Your Aliveness and of this Mastery of Coaching group, and I'm super excited to share this topic with you. It has been, I think, 6 months since I've gone live in this group, so very excited to be back, and we're going to be sharing weekly lives again. We have a great archive of content if you haven't gone into our guide section and checked out our videos there. We have lots of great content there as well. But welcome to everyone joining in live. Please say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from and what you're excited to get out of the call today. Okay, so jumping right in here, we're going to talk about, like I said, how to use your wisdom to create a profitable coaching business. And first, I just want to share why this topic is so important and why I'm sharing it today. Because even though the coaching industry is booming and there are countless people making the shift into coaching, very few of those businesses actually succeed long term. I don't have statistics on this, but I have heard some here and there. I just don't know them off the top of my head. And it's a small percentage, right? A small percentage of businesses in general succeed long term. And today we're talking specifically about coaching, but that doesn't have to be the case for you. So I want to give you some tools and some shifts that you can make to really make 2022 the year that you step into coaching full time, if that's what you're desiring to do, or that you really grow your business to that next level. So I just want to make sure, I'm just going to check that we are good. Okay, sound is good. Awesome. I haven't seen anyone say hello yet, so say hello in the comments so I know where you are tuning in from. So I wanted to share that, it doesn't have to be the case for you that you're, one of those businesses that doesn't succeed. We want you to be one of the ones that does. And, just to share a little bit of my story here is that in 2017, I actually tried to make the transition into coaching. And I was in my previous marketing business at the time. I really wanted to make a shift and knew deep down that coaching was what I wanted to do. But I felt, scared to take the leap, I guess. And ultimately I just said, you know what, I've got to go for it. I'm going to do this. And I put myself out there online as a coach, said that I was going to start coaching, and it flopped. Basically, I got one client, wasn't making very much money. I was accustomed to a 6-figure plus income in my previous business, and I wasn't able to sustain it. And so I got really discouraged and went back to my marketing business and nearly gave up, nearly didn't try again. And about a year later, I did actually successfully make the transition, and I call it a transition, not a leap. Even I always say leap kind of in quotation marks, because I think there's this romanticized idea of this leap that you make into like the work that you love, right? That we're going to just leap and the net will appear. And in my experience, not only my own experience, but also working with clients, that's not always, and not typically, I would say, the way it works out. More often than not, it is a transition. It is something that you do step by step. And that's one of the things I want to touch on today is how do you make a plan to make that transition in a way that's sustainable, in a way that you can not be, afraid they're not going to be able to pay your bills, in a way that you can really grow exponentially, but in a step-by-step manner. And so, again, going back to tried and failed, a year later, made the transition, and I was actually able to replace my 6-figure income within about 8 months through coaching. So it took me 8 months to make that transition fully out of my previous business into coaching, replace my 6-figure income. And now, just a few years later, I'm running a $500,000 coaching business and growing every day. And we are just getting started. So we are having that kind of exponential growth, but it was also sequential in the sense that it was step by step. And I did follow a path to get here, and that's what I want to share with you today. So I would love to hear from you in the chat, because I kind of want to get a sense of who's watching. Are you brand new to coaching? So in other words, you're at that stage where you feel like you have gifts or wisdom to share. You're kind of curious about stepping into coaching, but maybe you haven't made that transition yet or haven't started offering services yet. If so, type new in the chat so I know where you're at. Or if you are in that phase where you've started, maybe you kind of have some idea of who you want to serve. You might even have some early offerings, but you're still fairly early on in starting your coaching business. If that's you, type early in the chat. So either have new, which is you're brand new, you haven't even really started, you're just excited and curious. Early is you're really on that path, but there's still, maybe you haven't gotten any paid clients yet, but you're putting yourself out there. Or maybe you've had your coaching business for a while, but you haven't yet made the leap to full time. So you are working with some clients and you're really in that place of, how do I do this? How do I make this my full-time thing to step into the work that I love? If that's you, type growing in the chat so that I know who's watching. So we have either brand new, okay, we have newish, thanks Betty, early, or growing. So Betty, new-ish, I think that means you haven't yet created your offers and started putting yourself out there. Maybe you just confirm there in the chat. So, and I love the interaction, you guys. So if you type in the chat, then I can answer questions, do some coaching. I really want this to be engaging. I want it to be that you really get the value that you came for today. So please, please, please share in the chat. Okay, so whichever one of those three you relate to the most, you're going to get a lot out of this training today. So I'm going to get right into it here, starting with step one, which is to get clear about the unique gifts and wisdom that you have to share with the world. So who can relate to this? All right, she said, yes, haven't made her offerings yet. Okay, awesome. So who can relate to this? You feel this kind of deep down sense that you're meant to be serving people. You are meant to, maybe you're the kind of person that everyone tells you like, oh, you're so good at giving advice and like supporting them. And you have that kind of nagging whisper that says, maybe this is something I should be doing, right? Maybe this is a business I should step into. So you really feel like I have something to share that's on my heart and soul. And maybe it's scary or it doesn't really make sense, or you don't know what it is yet. But you're feeling that call. If so, type called in the chat. I want to hear from you guys. Are you feeling that whisper, right? Or maybe it's a roar. When I was in my previous business, I felt that whisper. I felt that kind of whisper that became a roar and was just like, there's something you're meant to be doing. Stop kind of hiding behind the scenes. There are people you're meant to serve. And I was terrified. I had so many fears and self-doubts. We're going to talk about fear and self-doubt in a little while here. And I just thought, like, who am I to do this? I don't really want to put myself out there. Yes, of course, I would love to change lives, but I don't know if this is really it, right? And I had a lot of fear. So we're going to talk about how to move through that fear. Betty says, I know my ideal client I need to share. Okay, awesome. Betty, that's a great start. So who is your ideal client? If you want to just share in the chat, and anyone else who wants to share as well to make this really interactive, love to hear from you. So who is that ideal client? And so what we're going to talk about first is really getting clear on the unique gifts and wisdom you have to share. So that actually comes, maybe you've already done this, Betty, but for other people watching, it really comes to me before the ideal client, because first we've got to tune into you. You're the one coaching, right? We don't want to just pick an ideal client and say, this is who I'm going to serve, which I'm sure that's not the way you did it. You probably looked at your gifts, looked at what you wanted to do, and then looked at who you wanted to serve. So that's what I really encourage you guys watching to do. And by the way, if you've chosen an ideal client, anyone watching, if you've chosen an ideal client, or maybe you've even had your business for a while and something isn't quite feeling aligned, like either you're putting yourself out there, you're not really getting traction, or just something isn't quite lining up, or maybe you've even worked with clients and you're like, this is great, I'm not sure if I love it, then it's really important to kind of go back to the drawing board and give yourself permission to do that. Because I think there's this belief in the coaching industry, anyway, I see it, that we need to pick who we're going to serve, pick, our focus, and then that needs to be it forever. And people get a little stuck there, or they get stuck in perfectionism, trying to get it just right. And what happens is then they don't give themselves room to evolve. So when I started coaching, I had a different focus, not completely different. I was working with women entrepreneurs just around growing their businesses, basically, much broader. It's still a part of what I do, absolutely. But now we've expanded, we've evolved, right? I really looked in to see a couple of years ago what were not only my superpowers, but my business partner and my mentor, Gigi's superpowers, right? What were we uniquely gifted at that I really felt like because I was doing this business coaching, it was going well, I reached the six-figure mark, but I just felt like, hey, this is great, but why was I really called to coaching? What is that deeper pull within me telling me that I'm meant to do in the world? And so I went back to the drawing board and I just said, again, some of these questions I'm going to have you ask yourself. What are my superpowers, right? What am I uniquely talented at? My mom as well. And when I really looked at those things, I saw, oh my gosh, this method. My mom has been coaching, if you don't know, for 35 years, 36 years now, actually. And she's developed this method called the aliveness method. And I saw nothing else like out there like it. And I thought, wow, this is really our superpower, is to share this method with others through our own coaching and then through certifying coaches. And that is when we developed our whole certification and everything, we're doing there now. I want to read your comments before I come back to this. So Betty, individuals living with substance use issues. Okay, great. That's clear. Jasna, McKenna, I have to stop watching this talk. There's not enough signals. Greetings from Chile. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe you can come back and watch the replay, I hope. Jasna, would love to have you watch. Okay, so you're going to hone in on, by the way, once I did that, once we really looked in deep to see what are our superpowers, what are we uniquely gifted to do, that's when our business really started to take off and explode in a new way. So look and see, before you get caught up in target market and all these other things, what are your natural talents? I'm about to lead a 21-day challenge. It starts this Friday. And in that challenge, we're going to be sharing, it's called Package Your Wisdom, create your client-ready coaching business in 21 days. It's an amazing program. I'm so excited about it. 21 days. And we are going to really start with mindset, because that's the most important thing. And then after mindset, we're going to really dive deep into your talents, your superpowers, what makes you unique. So I'm going to give you a couple questions today, but if you are curious at all about that challenge, I'll just drop the link in here for anyone who is curious to kind of dive deeper. And all right, so questions you can think about. What are my natural talents? What do people tell me I'm great at? Or what do people come to me for, right? What are those superpowers? And then another side of this is, what are the skills you have? Okay. So I consider the skills like the things that you've learned over time and developed over the course of your lifetime. And then your natural talents are more those things that are, maybe you've honed them, but they just kind of seem to come pretty naturally to you. So start to think about what those things are, because this is what makes you unique. And there's a lot of talk right now about the coaching industry being saturated. But the truth is, in my opinion, anyway, in my perspective, that it's only saturated with people who are trying to do what everyone else is doing. Think about that. There are a lot of people going into coaching, but then certain people really thrive and stand out, right? Why is that? To me, it's because they've really honed in on their superpowers. They've honed in on what makes them unique, and they are out there really sharing that with people in a big way and changing lives with it. Versus people who get into coaching, their heart is in the right place. They want to make a difference, but then they're sitting there looking around what everybody else is doing, trying to figure out, what they should be doing instead of really going inward first to see what makes them unique, what makes them magnetic. And so that's what I want you to start to reflect on. As of 2020, there were 7.753 billion people. I just Googled it. 7.753 billion people in the world. That was almost 2 years ago. So that number is probably getting up much closer to 8 billion now. 8 billion people. Think about that. How many of those people do you think have hired coaches? Like, if we had to give it a percentage, right? I'm pretty sure, I could be off with this, but I feel like it's less than 1%, probably like way less than 1% of the world's population has ever hired a coach. It's probably like 0.00 whatever, right? So why do I share that? Because the coaching industry is continuing to grow. Just think about culturally, how much has changed. 40 years ago, most people were embarrassed to say that they had a therapist if they had one, or people just wouldn't even consider therapy or anything along those lines, right? Now, people talk about that openly. It's considered a really good thing to be taking care of your mental health and seeing a therapist, for example. And then there are, more and more people hiring coaches, and that's considered to be a really great thing. In fact, I had a conversation with someone the other day that was talking about they used to be in sports, and they were saying like how amazing it was to have a coach in sports, someone who, talked to you that way. They held you accountable, but they held you to the highest version of yourself, and just, yeah, that whole dynamic. And I asked them, if you didn't have that coach, or if you didn't have coaches along the way, do you think you would have won as many games? Do you think you would have been as successful as an athlete? And they said, no way, right? Could I have won some? Sure. But without those coaches, no way. And that is it right there, right? Is the coaching industry is booming, and more and more and more people are realizing, hey, I might be able to be successful, without a coach, but I could get there so much faster, and I could be so much more successful in whatever area of life, right? Relationships, well-being, fulfillment, financial success, whatever area it is you're going to specialize in. People are realizing I can get there so much faster and have so much more success in this area with the support of a coach. So this is just the beginning, right? The industry is going to continue to boom. But if you're trying to do what everyone else is doing, you're going to drown in a sea of sameness. It's like a very morose kind of way of putting it, but it is the way I see it. Drowning in a sea of sameness. It's looking around at what everybody else is trying to do and trying to copy it or model after it, right? So that with good intentions that you can be successful, but the truth is that's not the way. So if you feel like you're drowning in a sea of sameness right now, type drowning in the chat. I want to hear who feels like you're stuck here a little bit, that you're looking around at what everyone else is doing instead of really looking inward. So instead, what I want you to start to do is to hone in on what makes you unique. The truth is there is no one like you on the entire planet. Not really, right? Not exactly. No one else like you. You are 100% unique. And so in that, the more you can bring your uniqueness out, I believe this anyway, and I've seen this to be true with myself and with our clients, the more you can bring your uniqueness out, your gifts, your wisdom that you've learned over the course of your life, your skills, the way all these things tie together, and share them with others, the more you're going to stand out and the more successful you're going to become. So this is the first piece, and it's so, so important. This is also what makes you the most magnetic. We talk in our work, the aliveness method, about aliveness. What brings you alive? When do you feel the most like yourself? Right? We've all seen it when someone's doing something that brings them alive and their eyes light up and they're just glowing. And in that, don't they become kind of magnetic? You're like, ooh, who is that person? I need to know them. What's going on, right? So the more you can align with that and bring that into the business that you build, don't just pick something from up here. This is what I see again and again. If you feel like, yeah, Betty says drowning. Thanks, Betty. You're on it with these comments. I love it. So, and so honest to really, to look at that, right? It's hard to look at, but then what happens there is that we're stuck up here. We're going, who's my target market? What do I do to be successful? Instead of going, what do I love? Who would I love to work with? Who am I uniquely equipped to serve? Who do I already know and have, access to in my extended network? You can always grow beyond that, right? But we want to start with what is that business? What is that focus that truly brings you alive and the client that fits for that? Okay, so that's a lot of what we're going to be looking at in that 21-day challenge I mentioned. So any of you who are watching who are like, by the end of this call, like, this is amazing, I'm going to take action on what I'm learning, and I want to get support from you for 21 days to do this for like a steal of a deal, you can click on that link and you can learn about that program, because we're going to go so much deeper than we can go in this one, 45-minute live today. Okay, so one little point here, though, is that you can learn from other business models. So when I say don't look around at what everybody else is doing, I don't mean like completely shut off from it and just try to figure something out on your own. You can get a coach to support you is always a great way to go, because they can walk you through, and hopefully if they're a really good coach, in my opinion, they're going to help you find the model that works for you, not just try to put a model on top of you. They're going to help you find the one that really fits for you, because remember, you are unique. In that though, let's say you don't have a coach right now and you're just kind of watching this video wanting to figure some things out on your own, then I would say you can look around at other business models, but don't try to copy everything they're doing. What do I mean by like a business model? You might look at someone and go, oh, wow, that person has, only one-on-one clients. They have a full roster of one-on-one clients. They're charging this kind of money. I would love to have that kind of model in my business, right? Or you might look at somebody else and go, ooh, they have way more clients at a lower price point. So they're going for a bigger market. And then they have only a few clients they work with in a mastermind each year at X amount of money. And that looks and feels really good to me. Whatever you choose, it needs to fit the lifestyle you want. So I can't go too deep into that. I'm getting off on some rabbit holes here, but it needs to fit the lifestyle you want. It needs to fit the amount of money you want to make and the income or the impact that you want to make as well. So again, you can look around at people's models. That's all I can really share in a short bit here, but don't get caught up looking around at what everyone else is doing in their social media all the time and all these kinds of things. You want to choose very carefully who you follow and not get caught up kind of trying to do what everyone else is doing. Turn inward and see what really fits for you. All right, moving on to how can you actually earn enough income to step into your coaching business full time. So the big thing here is that you need a plan, right? To make a successful leap in quotation marks from your current whatever you're doing into coaching full time. And I tried to do this, as I shared at the beginning of this video, without a plan, without support, and I failed miserably. And I've seen so many people try to step into coaching and really, really struggle without having this plan in place. So however you get that plan, I highly recommend having one and really getting the support if you can, at whatever level you can. There's all kinds of programs out there, right? The Package Your Wisdom I told you about that starts on Friday is a very accessible price point. So we made it that way so that people can come in and who may or may not be, fully ready to go for hiring a coach, or maybe you want to get a sense for working with us before you do that. But, that's kind of like an entry level program, or you can go and hire someone and go straight into their, I've done that before. And when I really follow my intuition there, it's always paid off. So whatever level, there's tons of support and resources out there. Natasha, nice to see you. Yes, I know you are working with us right now to have that plan and support. And I've seen such huge changes in you. In fact, I'm going to share a little story about you in a minute, but don't worry, I won't. I'm changing names on all my stories, so nobody will know which story it is. So the plan, how do you do this? So I talked about trying and failing to step into coaching and then finally succeeding a year later with that plan with support. I want to tell a client story for just a moment. And this is a client, I'm just going to call her Sasha. And she really wanted to start her own business when we started working together. And she was working a bunch of different jobs at the time, kind of barely making ends meet. And when we really dove in to look at this, she didn't know her numbers. So this is one of the things I want to share with you is you need to know your numbers if you want to step into running your own business and be able to replace your income. A lot of people just don't want to look. They don't want to go there. And it's not that you need to know accounting or anything fancy. It's literally just like, how much money do you need to make every month? How much money are you making right now? Where is it coming from? Like very simple numbers. And then what would you need to actually replace your income? And then what's kind of your goal income or what you would love to be making? So I sat down with this client and we mapped all this out. We looked at, like I said, where was her income coming from? She had a lot of different jobs she was working at the time. What was she making per hour? We kind of broke it all down and looked at financial goals for her, first to replace her income, and then be able to let go of those jobs one by one, and then to actually continue growing from there. So as a result of this, and then the coaching that we did together to, of course, get her clear on her superpowers, her offerings, her target market, all of these things that we're covering in Package Your Wisdom, we, over the course of the next few months, it was, I think, 3-4 months, something like that, she not only replaced her income and was able to quit all those other jobs, at least any that she didn't enjoy, but she actually tripled her income in a matter of, I think, 4 months or something like that. So this is the power of, again, could she have done that on her own? Perhaps. She was in that place, though, of like, I don't know, maybe I need to go get a full-time job. So I don't know that she would have done it on her own, is the truth, because she felt like, I'm scared, I don't know if I can do this, right? She was really in that place. So for her, getting the support really made the difference of her actually stepping into the business that she wanted to create. Some people, maybe they would do it on their own, but again, the speed at which you can do it with support is so much more, and just knowing exactly what to do, basically. It's what a lot of people tell me. It's like, if you told me exactly what to do, I would do it. And then, you know, when people do that, they get results. So what we're talking about here is making that plan, knowing your numbers. Have you sat down and really looked at how much do you currently make? What's the amount you need to just cover your bases and replace your income and step fully into this full time? Or, you know, you may be in a position where you don't have to work full time or something like that. You have support from some other source, then great. What's that number you need to get to here, though, to really step into this? And then what is your goal? We don't just want to go for the practical. We want to go for the vision and the goal, and set a goal that feels at first scary or exciting, but also achievable, where part of you is like, okay, yeah, I think I could do that. And so often when I talk to people, when we first have our conversations, they are like, they say that they haven't given themselves really permission to dream. You know, they're like, oh, I'd be fine with just this amount. It's somewhere near what they're making right now. And I go, is that really what you want? And when they really tune in, they're like, oh, no, I would love to make, 6 figures or whatever that number is. And for many people, it's the first time they've admitted wanting that and like owned that desire. And I'm going to tell a story in a little while about another client. Well, I'm going to wait on that one actually. So own what it is you desire. And maybe in the long run, you desire to be a multimillionaire or whatever it is for you. But what is that sort of next step for you that would feel really exciting? Feel like that pull? Is it making $1,000 a month through your coaching business or $3,000 a month through your coaching business? What would really pull you forward, even if it freaks you out a little bit? So know your numbers there. And I'm curious, for those of you watching, Natasha, I know that you are, stepping into coaching. I think you want to do that full time. But everyone, who is that really a desire for you? So if it's a desire of yours to step into coaching full time, then type full time in the chat. Let's see who here is wanting to do that. All right, I'm going to get a sip of water. So the lessons that I've kind of shared within this second step so far are, first of all, it's a transition, not a leap. So don't put the pressure on yourself to like leap and the net will appear. You can do it that way if you really feel called to do it that way, but it's a stressful way to go about it, in my opinion. So instead, think of it as a transition. Think about it as a step-by-step process that can happen very quickly, and but give yourself 6 months or something like that, or a year, to make that shift and get the support to really take the steps to make it happen. Awesome. We've got a couple full times in the chat here. So know your numbers was number 2. Know how much you're making, where is it coming from, how much is that per hour? As you step into your new offerings, if you're clear on what those are, what is that going to look like? How much will you be making per hour, right? And of course, all the back end you do in the business isn't included in that, but it's still great to look at those numbers. And then know what you need to just cover your bases and step into this full time. And then what is that goal or that dream number? All right, third lesson, like I've shared a few times already in this video, is get support. So that's the Package Your Wisdom Challenge, like I talked about, is all about, we're going to be taking you through everything you need to be client ready in 21 days. So client ready is like, all right, I know what my gifts are. I know what my superpowers are. I'm clear, crystal clear on who I want to serve, a market that really excites me and lights me up to serve. And I validated that the market exists and they're out there and they're willing to invest in this, because that's a step a lot of people miss. And, I feel really clear on my offers. I know that these are offers that are going to transform people's lives, and I know what they cost, and I'm like fully ready to go. I've broken through the fears, the doubts, the mindset things that were getting in my way, and I'm ready to enroll clients. Imagine how that would feel. If you're not there already, imagine how that would feel. Just take a moment, right? I'm ready. That client could I could meet them at a party tomorrow and sign them on, and we'd be good. We're rocking and rolling. So having that kind of clarity, that's what this challenge is about. And 21 days is a short time to do it. So it is, you need to be able to dedicate 30 to 60 minutes a day to this, but this is a great time of year to do that. So, really walking you through step by step and giving you the live coaching and support to make that happen. All right. Number 3 is avoid the 3 biggest pitfalls that can get in the way of you launching a successful coaching business. This is the third step in taking your wisdom and creating your profitable coaching business out of it. So the 3 biggest pitfalls that I see, are lack of a clear vision, not knowing the path, and fear and self-doubt. So which one of these feels like it's the biggest one for you? Is it not knowing the vision of where you want to go? Is it not knowing the path? Maybe you feel like I'm clear on the vision, but the steps to get from here to there don't feel clear. Or is it fear and self-doubt? Okay, I'm clear on the vision, maybe clear on some of the steps at least, but when I think about going for this, I just feel paralyzed by fear and self-doubt, or at least, if not paralyzed, they really take me out of the game. So just type vision, path, or fear or self-doubt in the chat. Okay, I want to hear which one really resonates the most for you where you are right now. And this can change and evolve, right? Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other. And I want to talk about fear and self-doubt first, because that's the one that I see kind of the most. So there's so much I could share around this topic. And again, we're going to go much deeper and package your wisdom. But I want to talk about this idea of the person you're stepping into, the woman you're stepping into, or the man you're stepping into. And this is an approach to sort of mindset and to moving through some of those fears and self-doubts that may be very different than anything you've experienced before. But it is one of my favorite ways. We have many different tools to do this, but it's one of my favorite ways to help people really jump through that to their next level. So one of our clients, we have fear and self-doubt and path. Okay, great. So one of our clients, who I started doing this work with, she was having a lot of fear and self-doubt, and we've done a couple different stages of this over the years that she's worked with us. And so the first stage, we got clear on who was the woman she was becoming when she didn't have that fear and self-doubt, when she was living full out in her life and in her business. Who would she be? And we gave her a name, and that name was Nikki Unleashed. Nikki Unleashed. And from then on, she started to be that person. She started to act the part. And, in her personal life, in her professional life, she started to dress like that version of herself would dress. And so much shifted for her when she did this. The next stage was 100K. 100K. She really wanted to step into making great money in her business. And when she made that shift to that version of herself, then everything changed. So she went from doubting herself, not knowing what to do, kind of some of those places you guys might be feeling if you're feeling a little stuck or you're looking around at everybody else. And she just owned, if I were a 6-figure businesswoman, what would I be doing differently, right? How would I approach this? And she went out and I think she tripled her client load in 30 days. So that is the power. And it seems so simple. You're like, that's ridiculous, right? How can just kind of, and again, I can't take you through the full process here, but it is really ultimately at the foundation that simple of deciding who it is you want to be, how it is you want to show up. If you already knew what to do, if you didn't have the fear and self-doubt, who would you be? if you are already running a 6-figure coaching business or a 7-figure coaching business or whatever that goal is for you, how would you be showing up? How would you make decisions? Another one with another client was Fearless Fiona. Fearless Fiona. So she was having a lot of, again, fears, self-doubts, things showing up, wasn't really clear in certain areas. And we took her to her new persona, which is Fearless Fiona. And I saw a huge shift in her. And all of a sudden she started making decisions quickly. She knew what she wanted. She was rocking and rolling, right? Dressing differently, a whole different energy that she was bringing to her life and to her business. One other one, I have so many, right? But one other one was Sassy Classy in one of our programs. And Sassy Classy was like this fully self-expressed, fun version of herself. And when she stepped into that energy, she started showing up more that way on social media, started attracting more clients. People were just like, oh my gosh, who is this, right? In that magnetism, in that self-expression. So really, instead of trying to solve your fear and self-doubt, which again, we have tools for what to do when they show up, and we'll go into that in Package Your Wisdom. But instead of trying to solve your fear and self-doubt, you want to go, who is the person? Who is the version of me who feels less of that, right? Who isn't afraid of this, who's going for it, who already is successful? Who would I be? And how can I start to step into that version of me now? My most recent one is Audacious Eve. Audacious Eve. So audacious, I felt like, was the best word to describe who I'm stepping into, the energy I wanted to embody. And so I created my persona. And I always usually put like a word and then some kind of name. But some people like Sassy Classy, right? It can just be 2 fun words. But it needs to be really short, no more than like 2 words, okay? And so if you look at that version of yourself, if I think about Audacious Eve, she's like, again, out with her energy. She's self-expressed. She's fun. She's visible online. She, I'm trying to think what else. I led an event as her a couple of weeks ago. I decided, you know what? I'm not going to lead this event as McKenna. I'm going to get up and introduce myself as Audacious Eve. And I just let that energy take over me, man. And it was a whole different experience than anything I'd ever done before. And the women were blown away and they had so much fun. And this is the power, right? I felt amazing afterwards. I felt more myself than ever before. And so when it is actually that simple. We want to make it complicated, like, oh no, but I'm not those things and I don't know if I can, and right, all this worthiness and am I good enough and self-doubt. And that's a version of yourself that you can live into, or you can live into this other version of yourself. Which one will you choose? Now, it's not to say you're never going to have fears and self-doubts or things like that come up. We have processes, like I said, and things you can do to kind of catch yourself in the moment when they come up. And we're going to share more about that in the Package Your Wisdom program. And I'm going to drop that link actually one more time because it's gotten a little lost in the comments here, if you're curious about joining us. But whether or not you do, think about these questions of who is that person that you're stepping into. And by the way, when I led that event, because I was so out with my energy, I was having so much fun, I was lit up and alive, I became magnetic. And so many of the women who came to that event were curious about then working with us or have signed on to work with us. So that is the power. It's not just like, oh, some nice thing, right? It really can help to grow your business. All right, so if you said self-doubt, that's a great tool for you. We're going to be sharing a lot in Package Your Wisdom. If you said lack of a vision and path, then we're going to be going also into that in the program. More so, you're going to get a one-on-one coaching call as part of that program. And it's at the end of the program. So we're going to get you clear on all these other things about yourself in terms of, your superpowers, not about yourself. Get you clear on your superpowers, like I said, your offerings, who you want to serve, your pricing, moving you through some of these mindset things. And then at the end, we're going to go, okay, now with all this clarity, what do you want to do? What do you want to create? We're going to help you create that vision and the roadmap, the path to really get there. So, I don't know of any other program that gives you one-on-one coaching for the amazing rate that we are doing it. So highly, highly recommend joining us. And in this, 21 days, you're going to basically get answers to some of the biggest questions that I see new and also pivoting coaches. So pivoting meaning like I'm doing something, but it doesn't quite feel aligned. I think I want to shift in my offerings or my target market or something. So you're going to find out how can you stand out from the crowd. So you'll learn our signature system to identify, like I said, your gifts, your wisdom, what makes you irresistible to your dream clients, even if you feel like the coaching industry is saturated and it's all been done before. You'll really learn how can I make great money as a coach. So the secrets of creating high value coaching offerings that people are happy to pay for, that are so transformational that they come back to work with you again and again and refer their friends. And I'm a huge stand for this, by the way. I see a lot of just, charge high ticket and things like that. And I'm not of that stance because I think high ticket is very powerful and important. For me, it's high value. High value. How do you create offers that are so high value that it's worth people stretching and making an investment in themselves? And the transformation is so incredible that they tell all their friends and they want to come back and work with you. We have clients that work with us over months, years. Some of my mom's clients have worked with her for 25 years, right? I already have clients that have worked with me on and off for the whole time I've been coaching, basically, since the very beginning. And so we want you to have those kinds of results as well, not just like go out and sell some people some coaching services, but really build that loyalty, really provide exceptional value to people. And third, how can I feel confident putting myself out there? This was one of the biggest things that held me back when I first started coaching. I was scared to get on Facebook Live like this, to, show up on social media, to get on an enrollment call and ask someone to work with me. I had a lot of fear and self-doubt. And so if you're feeling like that or you're afraid to put yourself out there, we're going to really look at how to do that. So you'll look at the fears and patterns that have kept you stuck, and you're going to learn a proven approach to break through self-doubt so you can get visible and get clients with confidence. So which one of these three, for those of you watching, which one of these three is a bigger question for you? How can you stand out from the crowd, right? Stand out in the coaching industry. Type stand out in the chat. How can you make great money as a coach? Type money in the chat. Or how can you feel confident putting yourself out there? Type confidence in the chat. I want to know which one of these is most kind of present for you right now. So in this challenge, you'll get our Wisdom to Wealth Blueprint. This is an 8-step process to package your wisdom so you can start getting clients. You'll get coaching templates. We'll give you worksheets and templates so you can get crystal clear and client ready. And the Wealthy Coach Mindset. This is the, breaking through those fears and doubts so you can confidently put yourself out there and charge your worth. By the way, I haven't talked about that one yet. There's, the piece of how do you actually feel confident charging your worth and, charging the rates that you choose for your coaching. Okay, we've got confidence, stand out. Awesome. So that's a really big piece of the Wealthy Coach Mindset as well. And then you'll get 21 days of coaching. So you'll have a private Facebook group, community, you'll have live coaching calls, and lots of support. So once again, that starts this Friday. It's coming up very soon. You can get that link in the chat, in the comments here. And any other questions before we close? We've covered a lot today. I'll just recap real quick some of what we've talked about how to use your wisdom to create a profitable coaching business. We talked about getting clear on your unique gifts and superpowers, and what do you really want to share with the world, not just from your head, but really from your heart and soul. And we talked about, if you're going to look at what other people are doing, look at the model, but not try to copy all that they're doing. You really want to go inward. We looked at making a plan to make your transition, to actually earn enough income to step into your business full time, knowing your numbers, really looking at those numbers and getting the support you need to make that shift. And then third, avoiding those pitfalls, right? The vision, not knowing the path, or the fear and self-doubt. And I gave you the practice of really looking at the woman or the man you're stepping into, the person you're stepping into, in terms of, stepping into a new energy, a new version of yourself. So those fears and self-doubts can kind of, move to the side. And I do want to be honest about the fact that the fear and self-doubt doesn't go away. It just changes. So In other words, when I was first stepping into coaching, I was afraid to, let's say, get on Facebook Live and do calls like this or do trainings like this. Now I don't really feel that anymore. I don't have a lot of fear or self-doubt about showing up here today. But there are other things that still scare me, or other areas where I have fear and self-doubt. So it's not that you don't have it anymore when you reach that next level in your business. It's just that kind of where it's oriented shifts. And the more you move through your fears and self-doubt, the more confidence you have and the faster you move through them. It's like, I'm not afraid to feel that fear and self-doubt anymore. I kind of know that it's a part of the territory if you're growing. And that's a really big piece to understand, is that it's not going to go away. You're signing up for this. If you're stepping into entrepreneurship, into coaching, you're going to have fears and self-doubts, but you can move through them and they will get less over time. All right, ladies, I don't see any more, or potentially gentlemen, if you're watching the replay, I don't see any more questions in the comments. So thank you so much for being here. Natasha, I know you're in the program coming up, so super excited to work with you again. Betty, I hope you join us. Anyone else watching, would love to see you there. And we will be doing these calls every week, same time, 11 a.m. Central. Would love to see you next week. We're going to be talking about how to create your year vision and roadmap. And this is kind of a different approach. Like I said, my approach to visioning and creating your plan for the year is not from the head. It's really from the heart and soul. And so we're going to talk about how you can do that. So thank you for being here, and I will see you next time.